The creator of ancient Greek mythology was a godlike being. Apollo, the god of light; Athena, the goddess of wisdom; Ares, the god of war; Hephaestus, the god of fire; and other Greek mythological characters that we are familiar with are in fact only a part of the more than 50 children of Zeus. As the saying goes, Zeus has the last word on whether Greek mythology is messed up or not. Today tells the intricate relationships of characters in ancient Greek mythology. After Uranus, the first king of the gods and god of the sky, was overthrown by his youngest son, Nalos, Nalos became the second king of the gods. However, Nalos was in turn overthrown by his younger son Zeus. Zeus became the lord of the divine realm as the representative of the gods of Olympus. Subsequently, Zeus also married his own sister Hera as the queen of heaven. However, Hera was not Zeus' first wife, but the seventh. Zeus had a total of 7 wives in the myth, as well as more than 20 lovers, both male and female, both close and distant. All 7 of these wives were Zeus' immediate relatives within 3 generations, including 2 sisters, 3 cousins, and 2 aunts. Perhaps some of you may wonder, weren't Zeus' uncles and aunts sent to Tartarus in the abyss? In fact, in the version of Greek mythology circulating, there is a theory that Zeus later released some of the Titans, or a small portion of the 12 Titans, and was not sent into the abyssal Tartarus. But in fact, Zeus did marry his 2 aunts and had 15 children with them. In order to better develop the plot, we must first learn about Zeus' wives and illustrious children. Zeus' first wife was his cousin Mortis, the daughter of the Titan Okeanos and the goddess of the sea, Tethys, and it was Okeanos who was Zeus' great uncle. Next, Zeus married Mortis' sister, Eurynome. Eurynome was also the daughter of Okeanos and Thais, the goddess of the sea, so Zeus was a cousin through and through, and it was unbelievable. It's worth noting that Zeus's eldest uncle, Okeanos, and his great aunt, Tethys, gave birth to a total of 3,000 rivers as well as 3,000 river goddesses' children, making the 2 of them the grandfathers of the river gods in Greek mythology. And that's not all. Zeus then married his 2 aunts, Themis, goddess of laws, and Moenamysone, goddess of memory. Both of these goddesses were the 12 Titans, the 2 biological sisters of Zeus' father, Nalos. The 4 wives of the above 2 cousins, the elder brothers, Neus and Themis, as well as the 2 aunts and wives, were the very same 4 wives who supported Zeus in the Battle of the Titans. I have to say, Zeus is really quite bull, all by marrying wives for their own pulled for powerful help. The 4 wives who supported Zeus in the Battle of the Titans did give him great help, which made Zeus look very remarkable. Next, Zeus married another cousin, Leto. Leto was the god of conception, but his parents were Titans of the faction that opposed Zeus. Finally, Zeus was joined by 2 of his own sisters. The second sister, Demeter, was the goddess of agriculture and grain, while the third sister, Hera, was the goddess of marriage and fertility. Eventually, Hera became Zeus' queen of heaven. This brought Zeus 7 wives together, including 3 cousins, 2 older sisters, and 2 aunts. However, the separate one of those cousins, Leto, bore Zeus a very intelligent pair of children, the boy being the great god of light, Apollo, and the girl, Artemis, the goddess of the moon. Both Apollo and Artemis were the eldest children of Zeus. However, the pair's births were unusually rocky. Hera, jealous of Leto's relationship with Zeus, sent Python Piton after her, forcing Leto to wander. Eventually, Leto found refuge on the island of Tyrol and gave birth to Apollo and Artemis. Hera left the matter unsettled, and both Apollo and Artemis showed great power, and both later became one of the 12 principal gods of Olympus. Artemis was the aunt and wife of Zeus, and she bore him the triple goddess of loss and the triple goddess of fate. I'm confused about all this, but to clarify, Artemis was Zeus' daughter, while Themis was Zeus' aunt. The other aunt, Monemyson, who was the goddess of memory, bore Zeus' 9 goddesses of the arts, also known as the 9 muses. Next was Hera, Zeus' heavenly queen, who bore Zeus 2 sons and 3 daughters. 2 of the sons were very intelligent, Hephaestus, the god of fire, and Ares, the god of war. Ares represents tyranny and bloodshed in war, while Hephaestus is the god of Vulcan forging and is good at making all kinds of things, such as Pandora, the human girl who opened the magic box, which was created by Hephaestus. There are 2 other classic stories about Hephaestus. The first story is that Hephaestus was so ugly when he was first born that his mother, Hera, threw him straight off Mount Olympus. Hephaestus tumbled through the air for 2.5 days before landing, and was eventually crippled. Fortunately, Tethys, the goddess of the sea, picked him up and raised him. Later, Hephaestus learned all kinds of forging divine arts. In order to get back at his mother, Hera, for not recognizing his mother-son relationship, he made an extremely beautiful chair, the throne of Hephaestus. He quietly placed the chair in the place where his mother Hera often passed by, and Hera fell in love with the beautiful chair at first sight and sat on it. Later, Hera was chained to this chair and could not move. She realized that she had been tricked by an ugly crippled blacksmith. So Hera called to the gods of Olympus, hoping that Zeus would help her open the chair and punish the ugly cripple who had locked her up. Zeus found Hephaestus. After investigation, he found that the ugly crippled blacksmith is Hephaestus' own long-lost son. This is really a mythological version of the happy father, simply anticlimactic. At this point, the old man Zeus felt very embarrassed. After all, this is his son and his mom between the conflict. Zeus decided to play the emotional card, hoping that Hephaestus would let his old mom go. However, Hephaestus rejected Zeus outright. In the end, Hephaestus made two conditions before he would release Hera. First, Hera had to recognize their mother-son relationship. Second, he was to become one of the main gods. In addition, because of his ugliness, he had to marry Aphrodite, the most beautiful goddess of the gods. Aphrodite was born from the lifeblood of Zeus' grandfather, Uranus, and was the god of love and beauty among the 12 main gods of Olympus. By generation, Aphrodite could be considered Uranus' daughter, Zeus' aunt. Eventually, Hera agreed to Hephaestus' request in order to get out of the trap. With Zeus' tacit approval, Hephaestus became the main god and married Aphrodite. One theory as to why Zeus agreed to the third condition is that Aphrodite was simply too beautiful, causing the gods of Olympus to compete for her hand in marriage. In order to balance the disputes among the gods, Zeus decided to marry Aphrodite to his son Hephaestus. Although Aphrodite became Hephaestus' wife, she fornicated with Hephaestus' own brother, Ares, the god of war. In retaliation, Hephaestus used his skills to create a web of gods in his bed. When Aphrodite and Ares fornicated again, they were ensnared in the gods' net and surrounded by the gods in mockery. Hephaestus demanded that the gods punish them, but the two eventually escaped sanction through the good offices of Poseidon, king of the sea. Next came the children of Zeus and his second sister Demeter. The two had a daughter, Persephone. Persephone was not only the daughter of Zeus, but later became the queen of the underworld, the wife of her own dear eldest uncle, Hades. Zeus' second sister, Demeter, the god of agriculture and grain, lovingly cared for her daughter Persephone after giving birth to her, making her a beautiful goddess. Hades was mesmerized by his niece when she passed by again and decided to marry her to be the queen of the underworld. However, Hades feared that his sister Demeter would not approve and approached his own brother Zeus for help. Hades claimed to be deeply in love with Zeus' daughter and wanted his support. Zeus felt compassion and felt that Hades was not in an easy position. Considering that he already had many sons and daughters and wives, while Hades had no queen of the underworld and no children, he decided to help him. So, Zeus designed to lure away his second sister and wife, Demeter, so that Hades could carry out his plan. Hades used a pomegranate flower to attract his niece, Persephone, and then forcibly brought her to the underworld. Persephone was frightened and kept calling for help in the underworld, which alerted her mother, Demeter, to Zeus' plot with Hades. Eventually, Hades approached Zeus and threatened that if he did not return his daughter to him, as the god of agriculture, he would make the earth never fertile again. Zeus felt helpless and had a hard time deciding between his sister and wife on one side and his elder brother on the other. Eventually, Zeus discussed the matter with his second sister and elder brother Hades, who also realized his mistake but loved Persephone deeply and was adamant about marrying her. Eventually, both sides compromised and Hades agreed that 3 months of the year Persephone belonged to himself and the other 9 months to Demeter, which explains the origin of winter in Greek mythology. Although Hades was robbed of his straight wife, he was very devoted to her and never took another lover. After a previous lover denigrated Persephone, Hades turned her into a stone statue in a fit of rage, but also gave her a good resting place. Although Hades was the king of the underworld, he was of a gentle nature, except that this niece's wife was indeed snatched, a mythical version of a bully. Moving on to Zeus' 2 cousins, Mortis and Eurynome. These 2 cousins were sisters from the same father and mother, and Zeus and Eurynome gave birth to 3 rose goddesses. Then came the main event, Mortis, who was Zeus' first wife and the first goddess of wisdom. Her daughter would be the most famous of Zeus' children. The mention of this daughter brings up a prophecy by Zeus' grandmother, Gaia, the earth goddess. It reads that the first child born to him and Mortis, if it is a boy, will overthrow Zeus, but if it is a girl, will be wise and powerful enough to rival Zeus. Zeus recalled the history of his grandfather Uranus being overthrown by Kronos and his own overthrow of Kronos, so Zeus was terrified that the child born to Mortis in the future would overthrow him. So, he made a decision to follow his ancestors' lead, and to save himself the trouble, he swallowed the pregnant Mortis right into his own head. That's right, it was eaten. It's unbelievable that Zeus even swallowed the baby's mom along with it. But as we know, Mortis was the goddess of wisdom, and she didn't die after being swallowed into Zeus' head, but continued to give birth in Zeus' head. Zeus had a splitting headache and had to ask his son, Hephaestus, to split his head open with an axe. As soon as it was split open, a female goddess of war in armor with a spear in her right hand jumped out, Athena, the goddess of war and the art of wisdom in Greek mythology. That's right, Athena was born out of Zeus' head. As for Athena's mother, Mortis, she stayed in Zeus's head and united with Zeus, transforming into Zeus's wisdom. The above are the children born to Zeus' wives, among whom Hephaestus, the god of fire, Ares, the god of war, Apollo, the god of light, Artemis, the goddess of the moon, and Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, became the 12 main gods of Olympus. In addition, there are 2 children born to Zeus, and his lover also became the 12 main gods. It can be said that the 12 main gods of Olympus is Zeus' 6 siblings, as well as his sons and daughters, plus Aphrodite, the god of love and beauty, really a big family. Well, that's it for this installment. Follow my channel for more interesting stories. We'll see you in the next installment. Bye.